Hello, welcome to the Michael Sisco Show. I'm your host, Michael Sisco. Hang tight. I was turning my phone off. I was not completely prepared for the end of the little introduction thing. But welcome to the show today, day 2 of the daily streaming. Well, almost daily. We'll be streaming 4 times a week, so Monday through Thursday. 1 o'clock, around 1 o'clock on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday will be the flex time, usually in the evening, around 8 o'clock, and that's going to be the day that I bring guests, and also those episodes will be uploaded to the podcast. However, the daily shows, only the ones really with guests in it, are going to be on the podcast. Those episodes. Also, a little bit of housekeeping before we get into any sort of, real content. If my audio, I know I had some audio issues towards the end yesterday. We're having some weather, overcast type, and precipitation here in West Virginia, and I think that's affecting the network somehow. So I think it's a connection issue. And it happened after I had a call in, so I'm not quite sure. And I was also thinking, why would I, people send super chats so that their chats are guaranteed to be read. So why would I just have people call in? So we're going to switch. I still will take calls. I will open it up for some calls later. But for people who send a super chat of $20 or more, you get to call into the show during the news segment, basically. So hello, Valiant One. Welcome. Good to have you. Also, if you support us on Patreon with a $10 or more monthly pledge, you will not only receive additional content. So one of these episodes, my green screen's out. Kind of getting a hole in my head again. But one episode a week will be not available for replay, and that will go on to the Patreon. And also, you'll get an invite to apply to join the St. Edward's Book Club, where we study political theory and history, and sometimes maybe some religion. But right now we're going over a pretty good book on political theory and the development of the megastate. So if you're interested in that, kind of digging deeper into some of these concepts, then definitely send a pledge and we'll potentially get you into the book club. We do vet everybody, though. So there are a series of 2 interviews that you must go through. And I was late today because my apartment complex is turning on and off the water, and I wanted coffee. So it's off for like 30-minute segments, and then you have to rush to use the water. So I waited for the new cycle of the water being on to make my coffee. So here I am with my coffee. But also, don't forget to pick up your copy of The Bowl of Tears and Solace by Garth T. Ogle. It is a sci-fi, Christian sci-fi. Well, at least the underlying concepts are Christian. It will really take you on a little whirlwind. It is a book that will make you think and question a lot of things. So I would pick this up. It's only available on saintsedwardmedia.com with the shop link, and I did post that link in the description of today's video. But the main topic of today's show I want to talk about is what I consider to be the new wedge issue for America First conservatives. Previously, I wouldn't have said that. I would have said that the biggest issue for us is immigration, that legal immigration and illegal immigration, which I'm still going to talk about later why that's important. But to me, that was the biggest issue in politics, because every other conservative issue hinges on, basically the effects of forced demographic change and what that means electorally and culturally. But in any sort of conflict, you have to address the issue or the problem that is the biggest threat to you immediately. So while you can't lose sight of your long-term vision and, you know, the bigger picture, you do have to ultimately address what is threatening your movement now, because if you don't, well, frankly, you won't have a movement. And I know a lot of people and good friends are saying that that issue is the voter fraud. Well, voter fraud is important. We did just have an election stolen from us. We have an illegitimate president who did not earn his seat. He stole it. And so there is an argument to be made that, you know, the issue of 2021 is voter fraud. And I am sympathetic to that view. And I certainly, you know, that's an issue. We have to address that for obvious reasons. We can't have a successful political movement in the electoral sphere without fair elections that we can actually win, you know? But the reason I don't rank that number one is because we can't even talk about it. like what was the part of the problem during the Stop the Steal was the big tech censorship of even telling people about what was happening. We have videos of trucks delivering illegal fake ballots in the middle of the night, but hardly anyone knows because big tech and social media has censored it, or deleting people who even shared the video. You have the Gateway Pundit and Cassandra Fairbanks banned. I think Cassandra's still there. I don't know, but I know that people who were sharing these things were getting banned or flagged as misinformation. So to me, I would put, you know, big tech and persecution of basically the oppression and silencing of conservatives in the political sphere. That is the biggest threat to our movement, followed closely by election fraud, because what's the point if we can't win an election? And then, as hard as it is to imagine, like a year ago, to say that there could be a more pressing issues than immigration. Yeah, there's two more pressing issues than immigration. We are in a very, very difficult political situation right now, because, you know, if the demographic change continues to happen this way, you can kiss all your traditional values goodbye. There's no return to them on a you know, in our society. Really, we're not going to be able to preserve. You're going to lose the gun fight, the pro gun rights fight. You are going to lose on abortion. We are going to keep continually losing on everything, and then it's going to be, you know, your kids aren't going to be protected from pedophiles, and that's where we're going to be. That's the road we're headed down. But the immediate threat and the big wedge issue to me in these upcoming midterms is going to be big tech censorship and the overall persecution of conservative thoughts, whether that be in the political sphere or whether that be even expressing your religious views. Because I know if you go on Facebook or Twitter right now and you express the Orthodox Christian perspective on homosexuality, you might get flagged and suspended for hate speech. And so that's why this is all intertwined, even the religious battle and the political battle over truth. is intertwined. And that's just all there is to it. But so now we can't even talk about the other pressing issues. We can't. Well, our ability to do so is being restricted, suppressed, and I know the biggest. Well, Valiant one, it's not late. I mean, it is late, but to me, like I mentioned yesterday, their behavior is one of desperation because they know that their ideology is dying. Progressivism is dying. They see that at the grassroots level that they're losing, and that is why they are these are acts of desperation. These aren't their behavior is desperate. It's not the behavior of a very secure winner. If they were secure in their victory, they wouldn't have to do what they're doing. So I wouldn't say it's too late, but it is urgent. It's urgent. And I know one of the biggest arguments against any sort of pushback to social media and the censorship of conservatives is, private companies can do what they want. And libertarians will use this argument all the time. Liberals will use this argument when it suits their needs. But, the whole I understand the logic. It's libertarian logic. It's, the company has the freedom to, discriminate. And honestly, well, Valiant one, it is. I agree with you. The virus was checkmate. I mean, you're right. It is now or never. We have to, but by now, obviously not this moment, but this coming cycle, we do have to secure some victories. That's just all there is to it. So yeah, there is a sense of urgency, but the left only agrees with this logic that, of freedom of association with companies or freedom to serve or not serve, because really you are receiving a benefit. You're kind of both the product and the customer with the social media. It's an exchange, right? So the big social media company gets to keep your data in exchange for you being able to, which is very valuable data, by the way. Let me try and fix this green screen here. I think that's better. But I mean, so you're still making a transaction even though it's free for you to use these social media platforms. So for them to kick you off or deplatform you or restrict you, that is a form of discrimination. Now they are doing it on the basis of, your political views or what they find, views that you hold that they find abhorrent. Now, in the Jim Crow South, the argument was always that a business owner has the right to discriminate and serve anyone they want. It's called freedom of association. Now, the left will only use this logic when it is beneficial to them. And the perfect example for this was, hey, bake the cake, bigot. Sure you remember the bakery owner, I think out in Colorado, who refused to make the gay wedding, the gay cake, right? The cake for the gay wedding. He refused to do it. And we had a mountain of lawsuits. The left was outraged. And I'm not arguing that I oppose freedom of association, at least at that level, because I don't. I actually agree that. But when it comes to social media, big tech, which has become this giant monopoly that is monopolizing the public sphere in general, they have become, You have government agencies whose primary means of communication to the public is through social media. It's really taken on a different nature than, I have a bar and I'm only going to serve a certain kind of patron, which, by the way, is illegal to discriminate on the basis of race, sex, or whatever. Hello, Father Chris. Welcome to the chat. Also, welcome, Agent Ash. So, and so I'm not really arguing against, for one, it's a mute issue because it's illegal to discriminate on the basis of these things of race, sex, and now, orientation and whatnot, even though, I obviously support the religious freedom. Like, to me, I'm not going to be forced to into anything that I find to be objectionable to me, to my faith. That's just not something I'm going to do. And so I stand by the baker in Colorado. But when it comes to social media, Agent Oct 9, I get it. Okay, I gotcha. I know a little bit of German, Agent Oct, so Agent 8. So, but so back to the subject at hand. Yeah, I understand the argument, but I think it's kind of apples to oranges. Social media and big tech has transformed into this powerful, basically governing apparatus. Basically a country. Like the level of power that they've attained is essentially a governing force. It's almost a form of government. And so, having become the public sphere, it's used like a utility, almost. And so, to me, that's apples to oranges. And frankly, I'm not going to be more loyal to this sort of idea of, being ideologically consistent all the time when it conflicts with the greater good, or with the common good, so to speak, of my people. And so I don't care that, I just don't care about that line of reasoning. I don't care. Don't care about the traditional libertarian line of reasoning that says that private company can do whatever they want, because the damage to basically the electoral process is the election process, our political process in general, is so dependent now on social media that if you're not utilizing social media in the political process, you have no chance to win. And so they have a level of power that has to be regulated by the FEC, and basically they cannot unfairly discriminate against conservatives in the manner that they do, because it puts us at basically a if we allow it to continue, we will never win again. If we allow this to continue, we will never win. And then they say, well, go make your own platform. Well, we do make our own platform. We have Gab and Telegram and Parler, and then what do? They attack the platform. If you like Governor Abbott attacked Gab as anti-Semitic. Why? Well, I guess presumably because anti-Semites are allowed to have free speech there. So, it's just, you can't win either way. You go on Gab, gets attacked and constantly hacked. They're banned from 5 banks, which is also part of this whole political persecution that goes on. So yeah, I don't care. I'm not going to be allegiant, hold my allegiancy to this principle of private companies can do whatever they want. And Father Chris brings up the Section 230 here. He says they also receive special treatment from the Internet Decency Act, Section 230. This puts them in different categories of regulation. And I wouldn't even be opposed to it, because they're supposed to be a neutral platform where they are not responsible for the posts of the users, because they're just a neutral platform. But that's that's not how they are. That's not how they're acting. They're not a neutral platform because they are discriminating against conservatives and censoring conservatives in a manner that they aren't censoring liberals. So they are acting as a publisher, but they're getting the special treatment and not being treated as a publisher. So to me, this is the biggest issue in the conservative world. And if this isn't something that your candidates or your legislators are taking seriously, well, we need to platform them out. I mean, we need to primary them. Like, if pressure your lawmakers to make this your issue, and if they don't go to fight for you on it, then bye-bye. We have to get them out of there. And I would say for my three big issues, which is this, election reform, and immigration, same thing. They go together, because those of us who get silenced the most are immigration champions, are hardliners on immigration, and those who just state the facts of the election fraud. We're the ones getting persecuted. But what is happening to us political dissidents? Beside it goes further than just social media. We are being banned from payment processors. Nearly every prominent right-wing dissident that I know is banned on PayPal. I'm still there. People tell me that I should switch now before they, but it goes. I'm a busy guy. I would like to switch, but it's not convenient to switch, because I have a lot of times when you make these switches, the reason why it sucks so much to get banned is because not all of your patrons are going to switch when you switch. So getting them to switch over is also a challenge. And so it goes further than the payment processors. People are being banned from banks, like Andrew Torba and Gab. I think even Laura Loomer's banned from numerous banks. Enrique Tarrio's banned from banks. These people are being banned from banks strictly for their abhorrent political opinions. So, and you know how it works. Somebody on Right Wing Watch or the SPLC will write an article calling somebody a white supremacist or a white nationalist or an anti-Semite, and all it takes is, these banks, they apparently have the right to ban you, deny you essential banking services, so you can't live like a normal human being in America, all because of some expert at the SPLC who funds and who supports Antifa violence has labeled you as a right-wing extremist or some variation thereof. Also, we have people being banned from taxi services like Uber and Lyft, rideshare. So I know Laura Loomer is banned from. She's banned from those services, and like she pointed out, I might share a clip of Laura Loomer, little talk yesterday. We'll see how much time we have, but she addressed the Florida House, right? But also, it goes further than the bank accounts, right? They will basically ban you from employment. If most employers will Google you, and if the first thing that they see is an article calling you a white supremacist or a neo-Nazi or any of these labels that is tossed around, basically attributed to anyone that the left doesn't like, for expressing any opinion that they don't like, well then, sorry about your luck, but they will, and if they do find out where you work, they will call your employer, harass them, and pressure them into firing you. And we see this all the time. It's just, and like I need your super chats, because my options for normal employment are also limited because of my associations with, big bad little groiper guys, the leader of the groipers. But fortunately, I do have a job, but it's not enough. So, but let's check. See here. Did I set up? I did set up. I did set entropy up today, guys. So, if you wanna call in later, I will be opening up a little bit. But I mean, these are things that are happening to us. I'm gonna see if I can pull up Laura Loomer's little speech too. I think it's important that we see it, honestly, and not to say that I endorse all of Laura Loomer's positions. Let's be clear, I don't, but I do support. She's a valuable ally in the fight against big tech, which, as I said, is the number one issue, because if we don't address it, we're done. We're toast. And we have to address it very quickly. Very quickly. Hang tight. I'm just trying to find this video. And then once I do, I will screen share. Hopefully this works. Hang tight. I should have had this all prepped and ready to go, but I have like a million tabs open. I don't at this rate, I'm not sure if we can even really make it through all the news that I wanted to cover too. Hey, it's loading. West Virginia internet's doing great. All right, I think we're almost there. I'm going just in case we have issues with the connection and it's difficult to. I'm gonna put the link in the chat just so that you can watch her. She took an angle from it that I hadn't really even thought about, which I thought was pretty effective for. But Father Chris, the cash thing is real. Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum, they really do want to eliminate cash. It's part of their stated goals in this great reset that they have stated that they want to affect. And part of the problem with having a nationalized cashless system of just like kind of like crypto, but it's not crypto because it's the Federal Reserve backed or whatever digital currency. Well, all of what we just discussed they will have even more leverage, because if you say something that is reprehensible, oh my goodness, your money is frozen. And yeah, they're not. They aren't in charge yet, Father Chris, but they want to be, and so that is why what the America First movement, what President Trump was trying to do, pushing back against the globalists, these international globalist banking elites, and what they want to do. We can't let it happen. We can't let it happen. So. Wow. But let me do this screen share. Let's see what Laura Loomer had to say yesterday. Let me not forget to click the share audio button. And so you should see do we see my screen? Yes, we do. So let's go over, let's take a listen to Laura Loomer.
I'm honored to be here speaking with you today. Thank you for having me and allowing me to provide input into this evolving process. I'd also like to thank you for your consideration of House Bill 7013 to address the inequities by big tech, and reiterate that this is a bold first step to ensure that the First Amendment rights of all Floridians are protected against the dangers that big tech poses to free speech. The issue of big tech censorship and deplatforming is very real for all people who utilize social media. I'd like to share with you a few examples of how being deplatformed has affected me.
Well, that didn't work out too well, did it? Yeah, that wasn't working out very well. So, but anyways, we're running out of time anyways, really. So, but I did put the link in the chat there. So check that out. The thing that she mentioned that I hadn't even really thought of, which I hit on in the opening a little bit, was she mentioned how she would basically, like during when the hurricane came and all of the emergency communication from the local municipalities were done through I don't really want to. I don't think we have to watch it, but yeah, that might have been the problem. Although I have headphones in, so it really shouldn't have been the issue. But anyhow, what she pointed out was that when the hurricane came, both Uber and Lyft were offering free rides for people to evacuate. So not only was she denied that service, which could potentially be, life-saving, she was also not receiving the emergency updates through her social media platforms because she's banned from them all. And that was basically the official communication platform for the local municipality. So basically, if you're unpersoned in the way that she is, you risk death during emergency situations because you're banned, you're unpersoned, which is a second-class status if we are being honest. But mute the audio for this screen share. But we do have a little bit of news to cover. And once again, don't forget to purchase the Bowl of Tears and Solace. Garth T. Ogle is about to finish the sequel to this, so I wanted to start kind of highlighting this science fiction again. The Bowl of Tears and Solace by Garth T. Ogle. You can only find it on saintsedwardmedia.com, which is our website with news, and we are a publisher as well. So if you have a book you want published, we might be interested. But some of the news today. Now this was actually from a few days ago. The Red Elephants, they covered this. U.S. Marine Corps attacks random conservatives on Twitter, and progressive liberalism has defeated the U.S. military, it seems. The U.S. Marine Corps took to their official Twitter page to attack the political talk show host Tucker Carlson, and then sent a barrage of unnecessary and divisive tweets attacking random conservatives. So from Revolver News, the clash between Carlson and the DoD began on Monday. In remarks delivered for the communist holiday of International Women's Day, Biden boasted of how he and President Obama had worked to make the military a fully gender-neutral body. And one thing I forgot to do is open it up for call-ins. So if you want to send a super chat of $20 and more, I am posting the link to come on the stream. So make sure you send the super chat first, because I will not let you in. I will keep you in the waiting room if you don't send a super chat. Yeah, I know everybody's saying to mute the mic. I don't know why that was happening because I have headphones in. So let's keep going. Incredibly proud that in 2015, under the Obama-Biden administration, we took the final steps to open up all positions in the military to anyone qualified to serve in them. The women who join today's military aren't told no when they apply to fly fighter jets or attack helicopters because of their gender. They aren't told no when they want to apply to Ranger School or infantry officer basic training. And so, during our potential conflict with China, this is all going to make us stronger, right? This is going to prepare us to win. And then Biden bragged that it is easier than ever for pregnant women and women who care about their appearance to serve in the armed forces. We're making good progress designing body armor that fits women properly, tailoring combat uniforms for women, creating maternity flight suits, because that sounds safe, updating requirements for their haircuts. And Biden said overtly that his administration would be fighting to change the military to make it more feminine, a place where a woman trying to become a general is as easy to understand as a woman becoming a teacher or a nurse. And some of it is going to take, an intensity of purpose and mission to really change the culture and habits that cause women to leave the military. That women are making sure more diverse candidates are being considered for career advancing opportunities at every single level, that women aren't penalized in their careers for having children, that women aren't just token members, but integral parts throughout all branches and all divisions. And in response, we know on Tuesday night that Tucker Carlson said that any American would have said 50 years ago what every reasonable person still believes now, that making the military more feminine makes it weaker, not stronger, and that carving out new rules so that pregnant women can serve while keeping their hairstyles and painted nails to boot is grotesque. Nothing Carlson said is insane or even particularly notable. What's notable is the shrill, borderline ridiculous response from the once apolitical defense establishment. And here's the tweet, And they say, what it looks like in today's armed forces at Tucker Carlson. Get right before you get left behind, boomer. Women, we are Marines. Tucker Carlson, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay. So this is all in preparation for us to be war ready. And I know there's this article here. Let's check the chats real quick. We seem to be pretty good. And this is actually I'm house for this. Basically saying this creates a dangerous precedent. The House GOP leaders call for a halt to the politicalization of the military. Top Republican in the House of Representatives on Monday called for a halt to what he describes as the politicalization of the military. Uniformed service members recently criticized. Well, they're kind of just rehashing what we just read in the red elephant. But yeah, it does set a dangerous precedent. Not only does it make us weaker, it reduces our warfighting capabilities, because anyone with a half a brain just knows that there are real differences between males and females, and that the attributes that it requires to be an effective military force, warfighting force, are generally speaking more prominent in males. And that's a biological fact. Now, whether or not there shouldn't be roles for females in the military, that's a whole nother discussion. But, we could also look at, sexual assault rates. Is this really the environment to introduce the female element to? And I think that we could take a more sober view at the effects that it has had. Is this fair to even women to put them in this environment? Because, also some of the warrior attributes also tend to have some side effects. I'm not saying, speaking on a broad, and this obviously isn't everyone. I'm a veteran myself. I was an infantryman, and certainly there are a lot of good moral infantrymen of high rapport, but it is there is a state of being that you kind of have to be in to bring yourself to do what you need to do to accomplish the mission. And frankly, women should have no part in that, because they introduce a dynamic that is frankly destructive to them, and puts the men who need to be in a state of warrior mode. It puts them in an unfair position, because they really shouldn't even have the opportunity to commit these types of atrocities, because it's not natural. It just shouldn't be. It's not what we need to have. All right. Well, glad to have you here, Father Chris. Hope to see you back again in another stream. You have a wonderful day. God bless. Happy Lent. Happy fasting. And yes, Agent Ock, infantry leads the way. Let's see here. So there's that article. But even more dangerous than this, to be honest, is the purity test that we're seeing at the Department of Defense, which Representative Waltz, good for him, has pointed out. The Defense Department has they put out an order on February 5th to root out the extremists in the ranks, which has drawn fire from the first former Green Beret to serve in Congress, which I take as Representative Waltz. When the Chinese Navy is 5 times bigger than ours, when China is stealing our tech right and left and putting more assets in space, where does the Secretary of Defense see our priorities? Said Representative Michael Waltz from Florida. To the Epoch Times, my concern is the message this memo sends. Well, I mean, I think we see that the priority is wokeness. The priority is, diversity quotas. The priority is inclusion. The priority is not military strength, because frankly, the left hates all this stuff, right? They hate masculinity. They hate any sort of what they would describe as patriarchal, or even they might even attribute such things to whiteness. But this push to root out extremists is not. I know normies, even conservative-leaning normies, might look at this and be like, well, I would agree with that. Well, what they really mean, it's just code for conservatives. It's code for not politically correct. And they're not just policing people who are... I have friends in the military currently serving, and so I know this as a fact. They aren't policing you for things that you do in uniform. In fact, we see that you can get away, that it's encouraged to be in uniform and break the law, but they're not going to enforce it if you're liberal, if you're a progressive, if you're going after a private citizen like Tucker Carlson for his right-wing views. That's okay. But if you have ties to the wrong people politically in your private life, so and I know for a fact that some of these, I have my own sources that I can't reveal and I can't say too much, in the DOD and Department of Homeland Security and all of these agencies. I know people who are keeping their heads down, but if these ties were to be known, these people would probably be in trouble. And they're going after people for their political ties and their political beliefs and their political expression in their private life while not on duty. And it is a two-tiered system, more obvious than even in regular society right now. So that's what this is. They're targeting conservatives, and they're trying to morph the entire military into this SJW thing. And if anyone speaks out against it, oh, they're an extremist and they can't be in the military. So if we do get into some sort of military conflict, we're going to get our asses kicked. If we get into a serious conflict against a country with a real military, we're going to get our asses kicked, and that's all there is to it. There's no denying it. Because when we have an army full of trannies, yeah. So it is like Biden. I'm reading some of the chats on Entropy. It is like Biden broadcasting to the world. Yeah, we're ready to be attacked now. I'm not quite sure. Okay, I guess the ACFT is a fitness test, right? But it's being pulled back because the women keep failing after the 4 years of a slow rollout, because 65% of females were failing the new gender-neutral exercises. Yeah, it's like women can be in the infantry, right? But they can't pass infantry school or ranger school in large numbers. They can't pass at the same rate males can unless you reduce the standards. You reduce the standards, you have a weaker military force. And this shouldn't be offensive because it's just a fact. It's just true. This is just the facts of life. This is just, it's so absurd that people. And so we have this. I don't even really want to keep reading it because it's stupid. But oh yeah. Well, I guess we could read this part. Yeah, we should root out all extremists, but it should be across all ideologies: anarchists, communists, Black Lives Matter, Antifa, or Nazis. And regulations on the books already prescribe that, Walt said. As far as my Green Beret experience goes, when the bullets are flying, your enemies could care less whether you are black, white, or brown, says Walt's decorated Green Beret, who serves as a colonel in the U.S. Army Reserve. Well, I still think there's like a slippery slope type thing going on there, you know. Now, these groups, anarchists, communists, BLM, and Antifa, they should be rooted out of the military, not because they're left-leaning, but because they actually advocate for the overthrow of the U.S. government. But yeah, they're revolutionaries. And even, I guess, even if you're a so-called national socialist and you want to overthrow the U.S. government and replace it with a national socialist regime, well, then I would say probably that's somebody that should not be in the military either. But they're going after people who are just right-wing Americans who want to actually, they're not trying to overthrow the government, not advocating for any sort of non-legal means of sedition. They're basically putting you in the category of where those guys should be: Antifa, BLM, communists, anarchists. They're putting us in that category, enforcing us in the way that they really should be enforcing, But there's obviously a bias here, a political bias that favors the left and, opposes the right. And it's sad to see, and not quite, it is what it is, And frankly, we need to win. We need to have some political victories to even fix this. And the military really should be a neutral force, honestly. It should be loyal to their boss, which is always important to understand that they're carrying out the lawful orders of the authorities, and they should be a neutral force that obeys either the no matter who's in the administration, they should be the lawful force that is enforcing the will of the executive, the commander-in-chief. So, but they shouldn't be targeted. I mean, they're in our system. What they're doing now is just uncalled for, and yeah. Now, the other big story before we close out is the border situation is the crisis at the border. Mainstream media doesn't want to talk about it or portray or downplays the significance of this. But the Homeland Security Secretary basically said that the illegal border crossings will be the highest in 20 years. The number of migrants who are illegally entering into the United States via the southern border has spiked during President Joe Biden's first 2 months in office, said the head of the Department of Homeland Security on Tuesday. We are on pace to encounter more individuals on the southwest border than we have in the last 20 years, DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas said in a statement. Mayorkas, whose agency oversees customs and border protection and immigration and customs enforcement, defended the Biden administration's response to what some have described as a growing crisis along the U.S.-Mexico border. Previously, White House officials and top Democrats, including House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, have said it was the previous administration's policies that triggered the crisis, although Republicans and President Joe Biden's moves to rescind Trump-era executive immigration orders essentially served as a welcome mat for illegal immigrants. You have to be, everyone on the right knows why this is a problem. Maybe it has a little something to do with Joe Biden basically promising amnesty for illegals already here, campaigned on open borders. So why would you expect anything different than what's happening now? When you give these people a single inkling that they can get away with it, there's going to be the human traffickers, the smugglers. It's going to be a field day. We're seeing it. It's like, oh, the border's back open. We got Joe Biden now, so who would have expected anything different than this? And it really is a crisis because we don't have, there's no room for these people here. Most of them, you can't, arguments aside of whether or not we should, I obviously oppose mass immigration, legal or illegal. But even if you're a legal immigration person, or even if you have this utopian idea that, we can vet these people, the numbers that they're coming in, you can't do that. And like Nick Fuentes mentioned last night, it's a lose-lose for both the progressives and the right wing. It's a lose-lose for everyone, because when you have them coming in like this, well, children are necessarily getting separated from their families, even though most of them are basically human trafficking kids used as like goats. They're used to basically pretend to be migrants' kids so that they can use that loophole of, we have a kid to get through. And refugee status, it helps. If you come in with a kid, your chances of getting deported go down dramatically. So they're used as leverage. And then what happens is they get brought in, and then the kid gets sent back to the other side and crosses the border again with a different family. And that's how it works. And a lot of them are raped and abused. And some of these kids, they find semen of over a dozen different men inside of them or on their clothes. And so that's what Biden's rhetoric, and that is what his policies are encouraging. And that's why we have this crisis here. So we're going to rescind Trump era. Basically he has created a welcome mat for illegal immigrants, and that's where we are. And now he wants to respond to the crisis that he created himself. But there is some positives that come out of this. Let me check the chats real fast. Let's see. Doorman 360 says the military is more concerned with social engineering than defending the country. It's a prime display of our fall as a nation. It's true. It's frankly embarrassing. Hello, Pano. Yeah, if you wanna send in a super chat, more than happy to have you on. We're doing a $20 call-ins because or you just send a super chat. We're happy to have all your contributions because this is basically my project that I will be announcing very publicly on April 2nd. It's going to be huge. Will eventually benefit. I will benefit very well from this. Essentially serving as my main and only income during this upcoming project. So I'm trying to get a bit of a head start on it, which is partly why I'm going daily. But believe it or not, there is a positive outcome from this border situation and the immigration crisis. We don't really have much time, but oh my goodness, Lindsey Graham says that the border situation makes the immigration bill much harder. The surge in illegal immigrants crossing America's southern border makes reaching an agreement on it immigration much harder, Senator Lindsey Graham says. It's a translation. It's harder now to capitulate and sell Americans out in favor of migrants because it's so obvious what's happening at the border that we're having an immigration crisis that hurts Americans. So now it's harder for us to do it on the sly with a bipartisan bill of basically legalizing immigration. So it's going to be harder now. He said it's going to be really hard to get a bipartisan bill together on anything that has a legalization component until you stop the flow, he told reporters on Capitol Hill. Now, this is dumb because if you suggest a legalization, that's part of the incentive for them to come here. If you pass an amnesty bill, which the Republicans like Lindsey Graham want to do, which is why it's necessary that we have America First candidates primary them out. But if you offer amnesty, if you cave on this issue, more of them are going to be incentivized to come again, waiting for the next round of amnesty. So I mean, it's just stupid. I hate this. I hate politicians like Lindsey Graham. Like he's weak on. I know he also supports H-1B visa expansion. He's all about this stuff, and he's complete trash. I wish we could primary him too. Somebody should primary him. I don't know when he's up for re-election, but I think he just won, so not for another 6 years. So what we need to do is surround him with people who are going to oppose be America. We need to outnumber him with influential America First candidates. Well, senators. We need our guys in the Senate and the House. That's what we really have to do. But that's the only positive I see from this is, now we might not get amnesty because the Republicans may not agree to a bill because of the public, because of this so-called crisis, this actual crisis at the border. Now it's a problem because now they can't come up with a legal solution to screw us because we're getting screwed with people doing it illegally because of the same rhetoric that Lindsey Graham is saying. So stupid. So stupid. But Doorman, don't worry about it. No worries. He says, I would pay the chat fee, but I'm at work and can't discuss these matters at my office. No worries. You can support the show in other ways. You can still send the super chat. You don't have to come on if you send the super chat, but you can purchase you can get a nice little sci-fi book, and you can bring this to work. Nobody's going to think anything of it. The Bowl of Tears and Solace. It's optical. And you can purchase that from saintsedwardmedia.com, or you could sign up as a patron on Saints Edward Media or Patreon/Saints Edward. And the link's in the description. You can become a patron of the show. And then we would invite you to join our book club, in which we have great discussions on, we study a lot of cool stuff, philosophy, statecraft, political theory mostly. So but that's what we go through, and we'll invite you to apply. No guarantee that we get in, but we're just trying to make sure that we keep out, leftist entryism and subversive. So that's all. We're not trying to be, not trying to be too stringent, but we do want to make sure that we keep everybody, keep all the subversives and the would-be troublemakers out of the group. But anyways, that's all I really have for you guys today. That hour went by pretty quick, I think. So I appreciate you watching, taking the time to watch the show. Do one last check for entropy chats. Nothing today, but there's always tomorrow. But I just appreciate you watching today. And I'll see you tomorrow around the same time, 1 o'clock. Blessed Lent to really all my Orthodox co-religionists, co-Orthodox people, and even Roman Catholics. It's Lent for you too. So now we're both in Lent, and we'll be in Lent a little longer because Pascha's a little later for us. So, but many blessings. May God guide you through this time of repentance. Help me, pray for me as well. I could use your prayers to get through Lent. And see you guys tomorrow at 1 o'clock, roundabouts.